Hello guys. So today it's still gonna be Hyungsa, and you can find this in page number 64 of our material, which is given in the description box. So what we are gonna look into today is some of the conjugation rules. That is how to convert past tense written form to past tense spoken form. Last class we saw how to convert present tense to present tense, that is written form to spoken form. Today it's just past tense. So past tense is pretty simple. All you have to do is, as you know, we have a da at the end. Take that off and in its place substitute it with an o. And this is not affected by whatever vowel or whatever button is present. So this is the only conjugation rule you'll have for this kind of a change. So 컸다 will become 컸어. 높았다 will become 높았어. 느렸다, 느렸어. 빨갰다, 빨갰어. 따뜻했다, 따뜻했어. 뜨거웠다, 뜨거웠어. Like this, you could make examples with almost everything. Now it is about, that is, we saw informal or bhammar in all our conjugation rules about adjectives, that is, hyungs are up until now. And today's class, the main thing will be how does 존댓말 happen? That is formal speech happen. So you already know where to use informal speeches in Korean, so I'll not be repeating that again. If you want to know more about it, you could look into the older videos where I repeat it over and over again. So this is in the next page, that is page number 65, and we have two tables here as usual, one for written form and one for spoken form. So we'll be looking at the written form table first. So you have present tense, that is 현재 first, and that is, we're taking the example of 빠르다. 빠르다 means fast. So that's what we're gonna look into. So that would be 빠릅니다. 빠르지 않습니다, 안 빠릅니다. So what you're doing is you're adding an 입니다 or 씁니다 here. We'll be looking into the conjugation rules of this, so I'll not be elaborating much of it. So as for the negative part, you can see that you're putting the an after the word and before the word. And this is the same variations that you have been seeing up until now, and you'll continue to see. As for past tense, it would be 빨랐습니다, 빠르지 않았습니다, 안 빨랐습니다. Then the next one is the form where you have yo at the end. So you had 입니다, 씁니다, all that at the end here, and now you would have yo at the end here. So 현재 시제, that is present tense, you have 빨라요, 빠르지 않아요, 안 빨라요. And for 과거 시제, you would have 빨랐어요, 빠르지 않았어요, 안 빨랐어요. So if you see here, you have the first one is written form, and yes, it is written form, and the second one given as spoken form. But the thing is, the first form, that is a form using 입니다 and 씁니다, can be used both as written and spoken forms. And while the yo form, that is the one, that is the second form given here as polite spoken form, is the polite form. The 입니다, 씁니다 form that is given at first is the honorific form. That means a higher degree of respect than the simply polite form. So it would be used in much more polite, much more formal, much more senior, higher positioned people, older people, where you would use this 입니다 and 씁니다. But the thing is, you use both in spoken speech, while you would use just the first one when it comes to written formal speech, 존댓말. So this too has conjugation rules, and we'll be looking into a small part of it in today's class. So the first one is for present tense written form, that is the 입니다, 씁니다 form. So present tense, 현재 시제 from 반말 to 존댓말. So as usual, you gotta take the da of the end of the 형용사, and in case you don't have 받침, in case there is no 받침, all you gotta do is add bip as 받침, and in the place of the da that you took off, substitute it with nida. And be very careful of the pronunciation here. That is, although it is written as ibnida, it is not pronounced as such. It would be pronounced as, suppose kda would change to kumida. It becomes the pronunciation of ma. It would be kumida. Next, 세다, 셉니다. 빠르다, 빠릅니다. 느리다, 느립니다. 착하다, 착합니다. 따뜻하다, 따뜻합니다. 시원하다, 시원합니다. As for the ones which has 받침, what you would do is you have the da you have taken off at the end, right? In the place of that da, you would substitute it with 씁니다. Da would be substituted with 씁니다. That is where the difference between where you would use 입니다 and 씁니다 comes. Just for one, you have no 받침, while for the other one, you have a 받침, so you deal with it as such. So the examples given here, 작다, all these have 받침. So in that case, you would take the da off and substitute it with 씁니다. So 작다 would become 작습니다. Again, the pronunciation is ma. You have a mida pronunciation there. Just that you have a su pronunciation before that. 많다, 많습니다. 적다, 적습니다. 쉽다, 쉽습니다. 어렵다, 어렵습니다. 뜨겁다, 뜨겁습니다. 새롭다, 새롭습니다. So you could make a lot of examples like this, of course, and try it in different conversations. But then when it comes to formal forms, there's also another form where you have 미까 at the end. It would literally be 미까. 그렇습니까? 그래도 됩니까? Like that, those conversations are comparatively rarely used when it comes to formal speech. But then you can also see that commonly used in offices. So that is also a point. So it is not that rare of a type of speech. And as for whether you would use that in written form, if you're talking about conversations, yes, you would use that. But then otherwise, you would probably just go for this 씁니다, 입니다 form. So I would suggest you take the 입니다, 씁니다, yo forms at first, because that's the most common and most important forms. And then as you progress along the lines, you will probably come to hear the Mika forms that I told you right now, and just deal with it later. Don't mix everything, make it too complicated. Actually, the polite to impolite transitions and vice versa, of course, are the easier ones rather than the tense transitions. You already know that when it comes to tense transitions, the vowels matter, all those matter. So whatever you can, whatever which is easy, learn it first. That's what I would recommend, because you already know what happens in the difficult part. So take your time rather than rushing yourself. That is probably the best way when it comes to learning languages, because if you force it in, at least for me, what I have noticed is that there is a tendency that the things that you force in gets forgotten easily. So for that not to happen, and for you to not hate the language that you have a passion for, it is better to go for the easier aspects and then tackle the more difficult aspects. And another thing is, when you know the easier aspects and you hear the easier aspects, along with noticing the easier aspects that you have already learned in regular speech, you would also notice the difficult aspects happening here and there. And when you notice things like that over and over again, even though you don't put in effort to learn those actively, the outcome would be that you would end up learning it involuntarily, unknowingly. It just would happen. So that is an added bonus, and that is something that has happened to me a lot. So you could maybe try that method. And as usual, put in all your doubts in the comment box along with examples, and I would be expecting for them, and I would be looking into all of them personally. So, and other than that, it seems like it is mental health or mental awareness week right now. So hope everybody, I wouldn't say that everybody should have a good mental health. Of course, it would be a good thing if it is, but then that is also a challenge and quite unrealistic. So I hope you let yourself feel whatever you are feeling. Again, forcing it out wouldn't be the best option, rather than understand and accept and talk about it. And there are a lot of platforms and a lot of people you can try to talk to, even if it is over phone or online or whatever it might be. But give it a try. You don't have to put everything out there from the beginning, but taking small steps can go a lot far. So maybe you could give it a try and strive towards having better mental health. So I hope that works out for everyone. So thank you for listening.